Welcome back to Unsolicited Life Advice. We're so excited that you're back with us. Wanted to continue the conversation that we started on personalized purposes. And today, go into what my purpose is, how I arrived at that purpose, what it is, how it works, and how I seek to fulfill that in my daily life. But before we get into that, I really wanted to tell you a kind of a funny story that happened this morning, just to kind of break the ice. So, in general, I wake up every morning and drink coffee, not because I love coffee, but because I am thoroughly addicted to caffeine. Like, if I don't had a cup of coffee, I will probably have a migraine by about 1 o'clock. And I don't function super great in the mornings without a cup of coffee. So this morning, before I had my cup of coffee, my wife thankfully made some delicious eggs for us to eat. And I ate my eggs, and then she's like, "Hey, you want some more?" And I'm like, "Sure." Well, I head out to the car to go turn it on so that I can thaw some of the ice all over the car, and come back, and she hands me this plate of eggs. And the next thing I know, that plate of eggs is completely gone. I have no idea where it is. I could have eaten it. I eat really fast. But the other thing is, I also have this disease called flat surface-itis, where if there's a flat surface, there is a chance I will put something on it. And it does make keeping the house really clean. And of course, teaching the kids not to do things that I do is extra hard, right? And so to this point, I still do not know whether I ate the eggs or not. The leading thought is that I did, in fact, eat the eggs and throw the plate in the trash. But I'm really hoping I don't find a plate of eggs tonight somewhere around my house, because we all looked for it for about 10 minutes. But, you only have so much time before school. You can go looking for random plates of eggs. So just kind of a funny story. Again, this channel is really about getting to know one another and striving with each other towards becoming better versions of ourselves, better financially, better as a family, better as parents, better as friends and neighbors. And so with that, we don't have it all together. If you do, I'm kind of confused probably as to why you're here. I know I don't have it all together, and so I'm excited to be able to continue this journey of life with you guys. All right, so let's dive into what my purpose is, but starting specifically with what led me to my purpose. Well, to do that, I kind of talk a little bit about my past. So after graduating college, I was running a small nonprofit that a friend and I started. It was built around raising money for local homeless shelters. It was kind of a for-profit business model inside of a nonprofit setting. I won't bore you with the details on the organization unless you want. And if you do, comment in the comments. Hey, I'd love to learn about the business and tell you, what it was, how it worked, how we bootstrapped it and everything. But I won't go over that in this video. So like all business grads, I was hungry to make a name for myself. I wanted to expand the organization, make it nationwide. I had plans and I had strategies to back those plans up. Then I started asking myself questions, the same questions that we talked about last time with our personally identified purpose. And the first one was, will I be remembered? To be honest, that question really just made me uncomfortable, but I was determined I would make people remember me. Then, the question kind of evolved to how do I want to be remembered, which transformed into what do I want to be remembered for? I was going to be the one that brought about this new way of thinking into the nonprofit space. I was making positive change in my local community, and I would be known for a driven soul who loved people. But after several years, that's when I got faced with who do I want to be remembered as? I started questioning just about everything. Is this grand expansion of the organization what I really want for my life? Is that what I want to be remembered for? Is it, what is this? And ultimately, it really hinged around the fact that my wife and I were thinking about having kids. And my legacy started to really shift far closer to home. A friend of mine who's a father of 4 said to me, he's like, look, you're standing at the foot of your family tree. and you have the pruning shears in your hands. You can't control everything, but there are parts of yours and your wife's childhood and family history that you could weed out. And that hit me like a ton of bricks. He followed it up with asking me, what do I want the end result of my parenting to be from my kids' perspective? What am I leaving them with? And we're not talking about inheritance and physical wealth and things. We're talking about their character, their person, what parenting did I provide them? How did I model that? See, my wife moved to America from Vietnam when she was 2 years old. And her dad, he stayed behind. And when she went back as a 9-year-old to visit, she found that he had moved on from not just her mom, but also from her. He'd found a new family with kids, and he didn't need them anymore. Sorry, this is hard to get through, and it's not even me. See, after wrestling for a really long time, I realized that for me, if I could show my kids what it meant to be a good father and a good husband, something that my wife never had, that is probably one of the most impactful things that I could give them and give to their future generations, correcting a family trauma and weeding it out. All right, so let's dive into my purpose. So my purpose right now is 4 parts. I want to add more down the road, but as we talked last time, we don't have all the time in the world, and we have to be honest with our limits. And so this is me being honest with my limits. So let me go through them real quick. Number 1 is to serve God. Number 2 is to serve my wife. Number 3 is to serve my kids. And number 4 is to serve my clients and you guys, my supporters on this channel. And it's in that order. So I don't know about you, but if my kids are home, there is absolutely no successful work activities that are happening unless my kids' needs have been taken care of. My kids' needs are not able to be met until my wife has been taken care of before that. See, parenting is a team sport in this house, and we need each other to be able to have and act in the patience, peace, joy, and love that parenting requires. My wife, she can't be loved fully in the way that she needs until I have served God first. That one may raise a little more eyebrows with you guys, but it is a fact for us. I'll explain, but I want you to feel like you need to agree with me in order to still get stuff out of this channel. So my wife and I are Christians who love Jesus, and we believe the Bible to be true. In Ephesians, the Bible says husbands are to love their wives, as Christ did the church, and wives are to submit to their husbands. This is one of the most misused passages of Scripture in existence, but I genuinely feel that Jesus lives this passage out to a T. He first lived in complete submission to God, the wife role, to the point of dying on a cross. Now, I'm not saying we're crucifying the ladies, okay? But it was through that submission that he was able to love his bride, the church, the husband role. It really leads to a solid order: God, wife, kids, clients, and supporters like you. Thanks. Now, let's dive deeper into each. So, what does it mean to serve? That was listed in all 4 of them. Well, in order to serve someone, I have to know and understand who they are on a deep mental, emotional, and even spiritual level. How do we get there? Well, we get there by spending time with each other, speaking to them, seeking them out, valuing their presence, asking questions, not surface level questions, deep questions, and being a safe space for them to be who they are. Now, obviously, I'm not trying to be a safe space to God. God's a safe space for me. But being a safe space for others is vital in order for us to really understand who they are. So when we dive into serving God, serving God looks like spending time reading the Bible, praying, worshiping, seeking what He desires over what I want. Being involved in the local church, living in community with fellow believers, and seeking to live a life that reflects Jesus, not me. The question of what I do to serve God to the best of my ability, it's the same every day. But the answer is radically different. What I'm reading in the Bible, what I'm praying about, obviously has a huge impact probably in how I go about fulfilling my purpose for that day. I'll digress on religion, but realize that the mindsets here flow through to the rest, and kind of vice versa. Now on to serving my wife. We've been married for 12 and a half years. For my wife, hugs are the defibrillator after a rough day. Words of affirmation are the water that hydrates her confidence. Now, don't mistake that for her being weak. She is a full-time working mom, and she has to deal with me every day. So, being married is like going to college, but you're majoring in a person, and the degree term is for the rest of your life. So, I get to study and understand my wife more and more every day for the rest of my life. What makes her tick? What helps her sleep better? How much sleep does she need? What lets her relax? How can I make our home a place that she can fully live in versus just exist? People change over time, and we adapt to those changes. Taking joy in experiencing those changes with my wife, that's the key to maintaining our marriage. Happy wife, happy life is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. If I don't take joy in my wife's happiness, then I'm providing happiness at the expense of myself, which ultimately is misery. Now, I date my wife. We love food. There's a book called The 5 Love Languages. I think that the author missed food as one. It absolutely is just a wonderful thing for us to try new foods, taste things, and be adventurous. We love food. So whether it's getting sushi or all-you-can-eat Korean barbecue or just trying a new restaurant in town, that is just a total blast for us. We enjoy watching anime together, and we even just finished listening to an audiobook called Project Hail Mary. It was really neat. Extravagance and money does not make your time quality. It's the little moments where you add meaning and heart together to really elevate your memories. I remember a friend of mine said he was struggling to spend time with his wife after having kids. They were both working. It seemed like time was either spent in transit or at work or just with the kids. We realized that he was picking up his kids about an hour before the daycare closed. And then just, immediately meeting his wife at home with the kids. So I challenged him to pick the kids up a little bit later. He already paid for it. Why not? Maybe go on a walk, have a picnic, read a book, something fun to feed your marriage. Because it is a living thing that, like Thor, it needs sustenance. Now, girls' nights are a thing that my wife needs. No, it's not the party at the bar thing. It's more like massages, yoga, Pilates, maybe lunch or dinner, and a lot of talking. Moms have it rough. The mental load is absolutely crushing. The sheer amount of things that my wife has prepared for in advance on a daily basis just shows how much her brain's background processes are running on overload. When my wife is refreshed, I have a partner who is totally unstoppable. My kids have a mom who loves them more than any plain old human can, and the most thoughtful, involved parent that I could have ever been blessed with to help raise these little monsters. They aren't monsters all the time, but who isn't a monster at least every once in a while, right? Also, snacks are also a thing that must be kept around, because hangry wife, no life. That's probably the better phrase. All right, serving my kids. I've got to get to know them. My son just turned 7. My daughter is going to be turning 6 soon. And they're growing up so fast. Their minds are expanding as they take in the world around them. And they ask so many questions. And they get harder and harder to answer every day. My son is very creative in a world-building imaginary sense. He also loves figuring out how things work, which means he tends to take a lot of things apart that he doesn't then know how to put back together. He is very sensitive and is a great snuggler. My daughter, she thrives on all things art and social. Drawings, paintings, stickers, friendship bracelets, cards for friends at school, and snowflakes for Christmas. So many snowflakes. Everywhere. She will literally come home from school, go straight to her room, and just start making some sort of art by herself. Oftentimes, it's for kids at school. It's almost like she's a carbon copy of her mom. We're not involved in a whole bunch of extracurricular activities because there really isn't time for all of that at the moment. Again, gotta know your limits. And oh my gosh, is that stuff not expensive. I'd love to be able to put the kids in piano lessons down the road, but again, we have to be honest with ourselves. We do have both of them in Kikido, which is a Korean form of martial arts. At their age, they're primarily focused on the tenets of self-control, discipline, balance, memory, fitness, teamwork, focus, and coordination, while learning how to, and maybe more importantly, when to punch, kick, and block. We do have a policy in our house when it comes to birthdays. If our kids are invited to a birthday party, and we can possibly make it work, we will be there. This has led to some absolutely crazy weekends for us, but hearing about kids having birthdays that no one showed up to during the pandemic absolutely crushed my heart in a way I didn't know I cared. So we make every effort to be at a kid's birthday if we can, and we want our kids to be able to have the opportunity to be kids. We also hit up as many of the little free events at our local libraries as we can, and they get really creative, and we're blessed to live in a community that creates so many opportunities for kids. We also have to do the not so fun stuff with them, like making them clean their room, which still to this day is far more me helping them clean their room than I want, but we're getting there. We also have to help with homework and, just answer the many, many questions that they ask and help and foster them to desire to know more and to grow their strengths and kind of stretch them a little bit. My wife started this thing where she asks the kids, what is one thing that happened today that you really want me to know about that I don't know? Which, when they're at school all day, unless we got a call from the principal's office or there was a note in their bag, we probably don't know. And we want the kids to be able to foster an honest, truthful conversation with us, ask deeper questions, no fear of being torn apart for whatever weird thoughts that they might have or situations that happen during the day. Studies show that kids stop seeking mom and dad as their primary source of advice by at least age 13. We have to be trusted individuals in their lives. And it's through talking to them, understanding them, uplifting them, and living life with them in an admittedly not perfect way that we foster a lifelong bond. Now, I hate to admit how often I have to admit that I'm sorry, Dad screwed up. I am a work in progress, and part of my purpose is to daily improve as a father. And sometimes, oftentimes maybe, I miss the mark. Before you get any ideas, I don't beat them unless it's at video games. Lastly, serve clients and you, my supporters. Again, thank you guys so much. Ironically, the source of funds that makes the earlier components float is the last thing on the list. But by having harmony in the other areas, I can focus on providing the best of me to my clients and to you. I do financial bookkeeping and tax preparation for small businesses, as well as help people get and maintain control of their own personal finances. The business side of things looks a lot more like just straight accounting, whereas the personal side is custom built to help the client better understand where their money comes from, where it went, and where they should be putting their money once they've saved it. I also get to lean on my past as a financial advisor to help the investment side of things for those clients that are interested in that as well. All of this flows into the content that I create here on this channel and the other channels that we have. When I was a financial advisor, I found that I was providing just as much, if not more, advice focused around life than I was around investments. Investments are important, but if we miss the things that we actually wanted in the pursuit of those investments, what was the point? To some extent, that's why I left financial advisory and the investment sales industry. I enjoyed getting to know the clients, their families, and celebrating their successes with them. I also gave really weird advice at times that didn't really help my bottom line. For example, I had a couple in their mid-30s that had been rigorously funding their 401ks and their IRAs for almost 2 decades. I told them I wanted them to skip out on funding their IRAs for the year. Who in their right mind tells somebody to do that, especially not a financial advisor? Number one, I get paid based on how much the client has invested. Number two, if you have money, shouldn't it be invested, right? The reality was they were in a really good spot for retirement, and at the time they had 2 girls, 6 and 3. As parents, we don't get to buy back the time that we don't spend with our kids. Once they're 18, and probably long before that, the ship has already sailed. So I challenged them to come up with some memory-making things and or trips that would be foundational opportunities for them as a family. Memories pay dividends that no stock or bond could ever give. They're 100% tax-free, and they outlive you. The way you parent shapes the way your kids parent, and so on. Now, I didn't recommend them never funding retirement again, but I needed them to plot more of their goals that were between now and retirement, instead of just focusing on something far off. So we should have short range, mid-range, and long-range goals, and we should be funding them in a balanced way. When I was a financial advisor, I used to tell my clients that the investments were the fuel that got our car to the goals that we wanted to drive through on the road to life. Therefore, they were actually the least important part. We needed them, but we're not going to cry about the fuel that's burnt up when we got to where we needed to go when we needed to get there. And ultimately, that's what convinced me that I wasn't fulfilling my purpose in my job. Or maybe better yet, my job wasn't fulfilling me. See, I was paid off of the investments, not the advice that I was giving. And so I had to use the advice to substantiate the pay that I was receiving from the investments. With investments, my success was automatically tied to something that I had no control over, the stock market. And we could make the wisest decisions, and the market still dropped the next day. Also, financial advisors rarely give advice before they have money to invest. And there's a lot of advice that needs to be received before you can really start investing. With the industry being paid as a percentage of the investments, that really encourages advisors to seek wealthy clients, because advisors want work-life balance too. Who wouldn't? Wealthier clients often require less time investment than some of their less wealthy counterparts. And if you can make 10 or more times the amount of money with less work, why wouldn't you? The problem for me lied in the fact that if the wealthy ones are the ones getting advice, then the main determining factor in the haves and have-nots of tomorrow is whose parents had money. It's not like we aren't all capable of doing this, but it's hard to know what the best thing to do in every situation life hands us. And that's why I quit. I made it my purpose to help normal people like myself better themselves, their families, and their finances. I hope this helped you better understand my purpose, how I arrived at my purpose, how I asked questions to get to understand who I am, so that you can kind of apply some of the methodology to yourself. Because having a purpose that you can live out daily gives you energy to pick you up when you're down, gives you that drive to crest the mountain and soar when you're hitting those heights. And it also gives you the ability to wake up energized and go to sleep and get good rest. I want the best for you, and that's what purpose gives you. What is your purpose? Now, if this is still nebulous for you, I understand. This is hard. I did not arrive at this stuff in a year. It honestly has been a 15-year process of understanding myself better. But if you have questions, please put them in the comments, and I will probably do a video answering questions, maybe asking you more questions back, that you could challenge yourself to better understand who you are and what you need to be seeking every day in order to achieve your own personal purpose. You can do this. Now, thank you so much, guys. It's been a blast. Remember, memories are the true currency of life. Spend time with your loved ones while they're still here. Thank you so much for watching this video and for supporting all of our channel. Please like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend. All right, bye for now.